Hi, I'm Katie, and I'm going to do a loose hydrangea watercolor painting. So here I have my paper, and it's on a dollar store bamboo cutting board. I have some painter's tape that I'm taping it on, and I do this a few times to remove some of the sticky so it doesn't pull up my paper. The paper I'm using today, and this isn't the paper I always use, is Strathmore Ready Cut watercolor paper, but this one is 100% cotton. So I was using Strathmore for years that was cellulose, and someone mentioned they have 5x7s and 100% cotton, so I thought I would try it. Um, and it works pretty good. Mostly for the paint, I'll be using Daniel Smith, a set of Daniel Smith that I've put into this Van Gogh palette, but the palette seems to have stains, so I'll use a Corel plate. And I may use a little bit of Winsor Newton cotton paints because I like the purple that I have. And these are some, they don't look as good, it looks like this on this screen as they do on the other screen. So let's see. And they're loose watercolors, so I don't want to have them look exact. See, they look better on this one. And it's funny because this one is my favorite one, purple, I think. And that one's my favorite pink one. And that one I don't like that much. Now I'm going to do it sideways, even though I think I like it better, more vertical, but I'm going to do it horizontal because I think you can see the screen better. So this is a loose watercolor and you can sketch it, but you don't really have to on this. I'm just going to do 3 hydrangeas in a pot. And you know what? I find out that if I don't sketch at all, then I'll end up having it in a place that I don't like. So I'm going to just go ahead and do a really rough sketch, just so I make sure that I have the pot and room for some shadows around it. The pot is actually a glass of vase, and then it's going to have, maybe some leaves and stuff coming off of it at the bottom, and it's hard for you to see. Maybe it won't be as hard on the other camera because it's just really, really faint. Um, nope, you can see it better with the other camera. So it's very faint and it's only for direction. Some people consider the pencil lines as part of their art, so they leave them there, and other people consider them as well, they don't want them there, and they're not going to erase once you put paint down. So what you can do is you can use watercolor pencils, and then those will erase. And let's see. Now, this brush that I have is number 10 Grumbacher, but and a round. And I'll tell you honestly, these numbers on these paint brushes, it's kind of silly. That's a 12 flat and it's just a Hobby Lobby one, but they actually are different with every brand of paint. So in a way, it seems like why even put the numbers? But not every brand of paint, every brand of brush will be just a little bit different. So I'm just going to start. I always go with my biggest brush first and just start and add some. Ooh, what I didn't do was add some water to my paints. I do have a sprayer somewhere and it would be quicker with the sprayer. And that way it'll activate them. I think that word is fancy for just it'll wet them. know if I'll use any of those over there. Probably not. So I've got water in my paints. They're wet down. And two more over here. Now I just use these particular purples with this set just because I like the color of them. I think I need to put all the colors that I like in one palette. Then I don't have to go back and forth. But so once you have that done, you're going to go ahead and wet one of the flowers just randomly. And let's see, I think I'll probably do my blue one over there. And I'm going to take my lightest blue, this is cerulean blue, and maybe mix a little bit of that up on the palette and just dab it in there. Okay, so there we go, dabbed in. And I have two different waters here, one that I can dip in first and then another one second. So one will clean the brush and another one will, well, one will clean the brush and another one to get water and then some paper towel. So then maybe I'll want to use a different color blue and then I'll dab that in there and it'll sort of run in a little bit with the other blues and give it a little more dimension. And then I might come back later and do some more on that one. I also had, of course I don't see him, I had some Q-tips over there. So then I think I'm going to come over here and do the purple one here. So I'm just going to add a little bit water randomly. And then I'll do the Q-tips, see what we'll do. I'll take some of the lighter purple and I have this card here so I can see what color I'm using. I'll mix some of that up on my palette to where it's pretty light. And I'm going to try the Q-tip. See, oh, look at that. I think I liked it a little bit better with the Q-tip there. And I also got a flat brush just so we could try do a little bit of swirling that in. Now maybe I'll want to try a little darker shade of purple. Use the one over here. That's not much darker. How about this one? That one before we had I should be saying the colors. I used a cerulean blue and a phthalo blue on the blue so far. And I've used a quinacridone magenta. And now I'm going to try a little bit of Purple Lake from the Winsor Newton cotton and mixed with the quinacridone magenta. See if that can get some deeper shadows. So those two colors there so far. And I think what I might want to do before it gets too dry is go back in on that blue one and use a little bit of ultramarine blue that's a little bit darker and do it for some shadows underneath. Maybe toward the middle because that's going to be darker. I still may go in later, also during the inside, and add some more. Okay, so the last one I'm going to do is the pink one. And I am a little bit concerned that the colors next to it might spread more than I want them to because they're not quite dry. And, you know, if you want them to bleed together, it's kind of neat sometimes when they do, but I don't want them to bleed together a whole lot. So I'll go ahead and get some pink, and I have some opera pink here or some opera rose over there. I think I might use the opera rose Winsor Newton cotton because it's not quite, I think I might do it with this. Looks like the water might have dried a little bit that I put on it. Dot some of that in. It's so hard for me to leave the white spots. I am averse to leaving the white spots. It just makes me uncomfortable. And loose painting actually makes me uncomfortable. That's why I like loose painting, because it's hard for me. So I wonder if I put a little bit of a darker color in there. I'll get this brush, which I like. It's a Grumbacher 6 round, but it's just a smaller round. So, and I'll try a little bit of the opera mixed with the quinacridone magenta and mix it up a little bit. Give me a tiny bit of a darker shade. And then put it in for some shadows in here. Don't want it to blend in too much with the purple. And then I can go back in there. So there's our hydrangeas for now. And the next thing I want to do is, do I want to do leaves first, or do I want to do the glass vase? I want to do the leaves first, but I'm going to do the glass vase. And I'm just going to get that wet and not necessarily the entire vase. And I want to pick a color that I like to have shadows. I like, for some reason, blues and purples for the shadow. So I'm going to go ahead and pick just a little bit of this blue. And which blue? The phthalo blue. No, I don't want to do phthalo blue. That's so bright. I think I might do the ultramarine blue. Do a little bit of that. And it's already wet, so not showing up too good. See it show up a little bit better. Yeah, so it spreads in there a little bit. Now, one thing I wish I would have done was a glass bottom like look, but I didn't. Just an outline a little bit. Some of that purple went down in there, and that I think is fine. I'm going to get a smaller brush. And again, this is very simple. It's not anything real fancy. I'm going to want to put some leaves in there, so maybe I'll just take that out by dabbing a little clean water on it right there and using a paper towel. Now, some of the paint brands will let you pick it up, but others will not. And you really have to practice different brands. I know I was using Koi for a while because it's so vibrant and great colors, but you can't take it out very well at all. There we go. There it is. So I feel like it'd be nice to have a little bit more of a different color in there too. Maybe some of the reflected colors from all of the flowers. So I want to put some green in there and put in some stems at this point, and maybe have it still just a little bit wet. Here it is. Couldn't find the right brush that I wanted. So I'm gonna get this a little bit wet here. And all of these systems won't show, but I mean, because I'm gonna have to put the fabric. Here is a brush called a Rigger brush, which is really, really awesome. It's a long brush. It's great for making stems. And I'm going to go ahead and get some sap green. And I just got some new Daniel Smith Flickers green. And I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of that in it to brighten it up because I want this to be a little bit brighter. Whoa, that's way brighter than I wanted. So maybe I'll put some more sap green in there. Okay, let's see what happens. And just going to go down here, and I wanted it a little bit wet so it would smear. And you can just, if you have a longer vase, it's works out too. Put a little bit in there because there might be some holding flowers together. Okay. And then you might want to go in separately with some different greens, maybe some sap green, straight. And then you may even want to go back and get some blue stems. Put one of the blue colors in there, maybe mix it in with a little bit of green, and then you have some variation. And I may end up going back later once it dries a little bit. Now I'm going to get some leaves. And I'm just going to paint where I wanted the leaves before with some water. And then I'm going to go ahead and get some of the green. I'm going to get the mixture that I had before. And it just sort of spreads there. One thing I probably should have looked at is how hydrangea leaves actually look before I did this, instead of just making them up. But there you go. There's some hydrangea leaves right there. And notice the water flows in a little, the paint flows into the water a little bit. And then what I want to do with that is I want to make sure that the darker part has shadows. So I'll usually go in with some blue on the bottom to darken that up. And then maybe underneath this, the flowers, it might be a little bit darker there. One thing I didn't do on this that I would have liked to is to maybe delineate where the top of this vase is. But again, this is a horizontal picture, so it might have been a little bit better on a vertical picture to do that. Now, I was wondering, something is missing. Well, besides the flat brush that I really like. Here's a nice little flat brush. There's something that is missing, and it is shadows, because I left room at the bottom for the shadows, and there are no shadows. So I'm just going to put some water here on the bottom and go ahead and get the shadow color I already used, which was an ultramarine blue, and maybe some purple, and maybe that might blend a little bit too much. And so I might end up adding a little bit of purple or something in there to make it not blend. However you want to do your shadow, so that's up to you. Maybe darken it right under. Well, actually, I'm kind of good with that shadow. I'll add a little purple. Let's see that imperial purple of the Daniel Smith. Looks like it's going to be really dark though. Oh my goodness, that's a little darker than I wanted it to be. Oh, look how that flows though. Isn't that nice? Flows pretty nice. I don't know if I want to leave that one flowing nice up a little bit higher than I wanted it to, because I like it, or take it up to make it sharper. Oh, you know what? I think I just should have left it. Yep, probably should have left it. So what I'm going to end up doing is, once it's dry, and that'll be a little while, is, oh, look, I should have left it. But that's okay. This is an easy painting to do. I can do it again later the way I would have liked it. But it really does make, it actually sits that sits the vase down onto the table or whatever it's sitting on, having that shadow, which it didn't do before. So I'm going to take the rigger I mentioned before. Once it got drier, I might put in some darker stems that were more blue, just for variation. So go ahead and do that now. There, darker stems, and then maybe put in some more shadows under the leaf. And then under here. And then you know what? Maybe just around the bottom here, just this little dark part here. And the second one. And then we should have left that clear. Then it would look more like glass. Okay. Okay, so that looks okay. And then I think I'm going to go in on the flowers and just do a little bit more. Not sure which brush I want to use. So I accidentally dipped my clean, brush in my dirty brush in my clean water. So I'm just going to pour this into here and then add more clean water to my clean water one. And that's okay. It really saves you getting up 20 or 30 times during your painting. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more to the purple, excuse me, to the blue one. And I'll just take some of the colors I already used and put them in there. And just put a little bit more shadows in different places. And you know what? I wish I would have done maybe some little drippiness. So let's see if this one works. Yeah, well, actually, I like that. Some people like the splatters, some people don't. And that's okay. If you like them, you like them. And if you don't have to do them. I'm going to make this go a little bit higher, maybe a little faint in the back. And then I wonder about this color, adding a little bit of alizarin crimson in there with the pinks. Huh. And I think I am going to, just because I like the splatters, I might go in and just do a little bit, make it look a little bit looser. The paint sort of flows when you do this in with the other wet paint that was there. Okay, and then now I'm going to do same thing to the purple. Put a little bit more of the purple that I already had mixed in there. Maybe put some more on that leaf, make it look a little more natural. Because I'm like wishing I'd have done the leaves like some of my other ones. And then let's see, what is that? Darker purple, maybe stick some darker purple shadows inside here, and underneath the darker purple is imperial purple. Put some underneath. And in there, and then now I'm going to go ahead and do some splatter. And with the splatter, I'm just going to do a mixture of the purples. Maybe that purple lake that I had. No, that's dark dioxazine purple that I had. Didn't put any of that in yet. And mix it with whatever's on my palette. There. Okay. So for now, oh, don't like those leaves. I was going to say for now I'm done, but I want to see if I can add another leaf in here. It'll maybe take the emphasis off those odd leaves. Well, I like that one a little better than the other two. There's another one. There's another one. Now I've got just a bunch of leaves in there. I'll darken those up to match a little bit. And can't hardly tell there's 3. So why not do a little outline for that in the blue, a darker blue, do the ultramarine, then we can see there is in fact a third leaf. This leaf, that leaf, this leaf, and so many blue stems. I'll throw in a little bit more green stems. Green stems. Wonder if stems would actually stick out on here. I like hydrangeas, and I had some in my yard once, but they didn't live. So, oh, I'm okay with that. Makes it look a little more wilder. And you can pick all the same kind of hydrangea, the same color. And the last thing that you want to do is make sure that you sign it. And what do I not have with me? I do not have a pen. I usually have a little pen. I do have, oh, what's this? A blue one. Huh. Well, it actually goes with this. I was going to try a gold one. Nowadays people are saying it's not good to put the date on. I don't care. I put the date on because I like to see it, but that's up to you if you want to do that or not. And here it is when you peel the tape off, peel it at an angle. And for something like this floral, you might not need to tape it down, but if you're getting the whole paper wet, then it'll buckle. And you can actually save the tape and reuse it if you want. Might even not tear the paper as much. This is not tearing this paper at all today, but it's pulled off. As you can see it, it's like sort of like that. So here it is. These are my hydrangeas, loose hydrangeas. They're not like a photograph. That set. Here's this set. And again, I like the purples here the best, but I like the pinks here the best. I like my leaves here and I like the height the best, but I don't know that I like any of the flowers. These purple ones look a lot better in real life than they do on this screen. And here's this one. You know, it looks a lot darker on here in real life than it does on my camera. So one thing that I do, I'll usually do like 4 or 5 of a painting, maybe with this something more, because you can practice doing hydrangeas by putting salt on them. You could practice, I brought a sponge and meant to practice with that. You can practice by putting a sponge on it. You can do it a lot of different ways. And then I save them all in a little box. And when people come over, or when I see people and want to thank them, I have them pick a card. And to me, I really like seeing which card they choose, because there's some that I don't like and I would throw away, and there's others that I really like. So I hope this was fun for you, and thank you so much for looking at my video. Have a great day.